Hello, and welcome to today's Hip Historian Happy Hour virtual tour. As you know, I am Brenda Holt with the Arizona State Office of AARP, the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. And with a nationwide presence of nearly 38 million members across the nation and approximately 900,000 right here in Arizona, we work to strengthen our communities and to advocate for what matters most to our families. The month of December is also Caregiving Month. We will help you navigate planning for you and your loved one's future care. Don't leave decisions around your home, your health, and your finances to someone else. You want to be in the driver's seat. Visit us for resources and more information at aarp.org/caregiving or aarp.org/AZ. Enjoy the show and happy holidays.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary folk, welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host of the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Well, hello and good evening. I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. Oh my gosh. And okay, so this is our last show for 2022. Next year will be a whole new year. So I want to thank you all for being here and wish you all a happy new year. Now, before we get to, that it's New Year's, oh my gosh. Okay, so today, Christmas just ended a few days ago. And so here we are. Oh, wait a minute. December 29. So, okay. All right. So, all right. But, okay. So, oh, cool. I'm so glad you, and the Neon Park. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you went to both locations because I'm looking to figure out when I can get down there again. So, okay. Now, today being the 29th, it is kind of an interesting day because back on this date in 1863 in Navajo Springs, Arizona, the first Arizona territorial officials took their oath of office. So basically, today is kind of, I guess, the birthday of Arizona politics, which I think is kind of cool. Now, it is also National Pepper Pot Soup Day. Now, this soup was nicknamed the soup that won the war, referring to the American Revolution and our war from independence from Britain. But what I think is really interesting is, okay, so it's got peppercorns, tripe in it, and all kinds of things, and any vegetables you can find. But it originates actually from the Caribbean and was brought over to America by enslaved people who would later sell their soup out in the streets. And now you can get it in a Campbell's condensed can. Now, it's also TikTok Day because, you might notice that the end of the year is coming up. So all those things you said I'm going to get to this year, you got a little bit of time still left to actually get to all those tasks. So it is also International Cello Day. Now, cello being, people think it's just a large violin, which it looks like. But, today celebrates Pablo Casals, who was a renowned cellist and considered to be one of the best in the world. So we are celebrating that today as well. So what can you expect from today's show? Well, we always do a little bit of trivia. We have Little Arizona. We have some music history from Arizona as well as from the vault, something you might drive by. Of course, there is a beverage and an amazing guest that ties into our theme of the anniversary of today. So, if this is your first time watching, you might wonder, who is that man and why is he on my screen? Well, my name is Marshall Shore, and I got here almost 23 years ago to the day from Brooklyn, where I was working in this beautiful Carnegie building and decided to trade that snow, that slush, that wind for some sunshine. I was working in a library in South Phoenix that had this rich oral tradition of the community. And so I first started learning about Arizona from just people talking about where they were living. Promptly moved into a beautiful 1956 ranch that still looks like a time capsule today. I mean, there is my kitchen, lots of buttercream yellow tile, matching appliances that all, oh, actually, I should take, because I actually cleaned up a bit. I got rid of some of those spices because, they were out of date. I guess I should take my own TikTok day advice and maybe take a new photo that's a little bit less cluttered. But, there's still time before the end of the year to do that. All right. And, as soon as we got here, all we kept hearing about how there was no history here in Arizona. But, I knew that wasn't true because every time I went somewhere, whether it was on foot, on a bike, in a car, on a bus, it didn't matter how I was going somewhere. I kept running into so many amazing people, places, and stories. Now, I'm also called the hip historian, which means I get to play a lot with Arizona history. So, you can give the gift of history. We are doing downtown haunted history tour coming up on January 7th. That'll be a lot of fun. And the first time since the bowling, I don't know what the bowling alley over there looks like anymore. It was a big hole. So we shall see. If any of you follow Front Doors magazine, the issue that recently came out, I am listed there recommending a book all about Pearl Harbor. And then next month, I'm out in Apache Junction talking about Arizona's neon signs and vintage signs. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. As well as now we're going to start really hitting hard and heavy for our educational burlesque show, Arizona Unzipped at the Orpheum. Oh my gosh, that's going to be such an amazing show. So I see many of you have already found the chat session. Thank you so much. And so you can always reach out through the chat. If afterwards you find you want to reach out and maybe you've got an idea, maybe you've got somebody, hey, he should come on as a guest. You can reach out to me through all the social medias. And it would not be happy hour without a beverage. And because PJ, he was having a little fun today. And so he was like, what we're going to do? Because it's cello day, we're going to do some limoncello. So let's see what Silent Bob is doing. So now this is locally made. They hand select the lemons from Mesa, distill it out in Scottsdale using an old family recipe. And so I put a little bit of soda water so to be a little bubbly as well. So kind of a little festive. So, and let's see how that chili is. Oh, that's really good with a little bit of soda water. Nice. All right. Oh, and I don't think I showed. And so I think here PJ is with the folks that actually make chili. And I thought it was funny that they're holding a glass and he's holding a bottle. Don't know quite what that says about who was drinking what, but I bet he had a hangover the next day. So be sure to stay hydrated so that does not happen to you. And so we're going to talk about Little Arizona. Now we talked about Navajo, Arizona, which is on the Navajo Nation. was basically first kind of founded by white men in 1853 with Lieutenant Whipple. They found that there were these seeps that allowed water to come to the surface, and so they would build these things, and that's out there today for all the Navajo ranchers, cattle, sheep that are out there, so they can get some water. Now, it is also where the Beale Camel Expedition did make a stop off as well, so it became famous as a stop off for water, hence the name Navajo Springs. Now, it was also right on Route 66, so there was a hotel there as well, which sadly is all gone. But today there is a Navajo Travel Center right there, so you can still get gas, some food, and keep on your journey. And this is indeed where Arizona politics first started, back on this day in 1863. And so now I am so excited to bring oh, wait a minute, wrong, wrong person. Oh, there we go. Much better. All right. Well, hello, Marcelino. How are ya?
I'm well. How are you, Marshall?
I am great. Are you all ready for New Year's?
Yeah, getting ready for the new year, and really pleased to be here with you, the hip historian, to talk trivia and welcome in the new year as we close out 2022.
Indeed. So for folks that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Marcelino Quiñonez. I happen to serve as the minority whip for the Arizona Democratic Caucus. I represent LD 11, which encompasses South Phoenix, Laveen, Guadalupe, and downtown Phoenix up to Van Buren. So if you're in those regions, I'm your state representative. I was appointed last year in December when there was a vacancy. And then this year I got elected. And 2 days after getting elected to office, my colleagues made me the minority whip, along with leader Andres Cano, assistant leader Lupe Contreras, whip Melody Hernandez, and myself. And so in addition to politics, I have written plays, I've performed in plays, I've been an educator, and then I've worked for St. Vincent de Paul and ASU. So everything having to do with community, humanity, education, I've been there.
Great. And I know we've got some trivia coming up.
Yes.
And so now, okay, so here on Happy Hour, and oh my gosh, my friend Anita, so they are actually at the hospital right now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, somebody had a little bit of some issues, but on the mend, which is good to hear.
Well, sending Anita and the family lots of energy, right?
Indeed, lots of positive energy, and maybe Mike can eat some rice tonight. We shall see. I look forward to hearing all about that. And so with our trivia, we do trivia here a little bit differently in the fact that it's not about what you know, but we'll go through and also then talk about the answers and explain them and give a little bit more, as someone might say, more to the story, because there's always more. And
it's that onion metaphor, right? You got to peel the layers.
Exactly. And so that's the fun of really kind of getting to learn more about Arizona. And so you can keep tabs. Now, I bet Anita probably did not bring her special notebook that she normally has for trivia. So I'll be intrigued to see if she did bring that. But, it's like you can keep track of your trivia answers. Some folks do it in the chat. Some folks do it wherever. It's all good. As long as we're all having fun, that's what we're here for. Fun and learning. All right. So our first question up. So 1974, what former boxer, Mexican immigrant, and county board supervisor became Arizona's first and at the moment only Latino governor? Oh, she did bring her special notebook. All right.
Anita's on it.
She is dedicated. All right. So was that first Latino governor, was it A, Raul Hector Castro, B, Ed Pastor, C, Ruben Gallego, or D,
Raul Grijalva?
Real Grijalva.
Yes.
All right. So moving on to question 2. Who became Arizona's first Latino elected to Congress? Was
Bob
it A?
Reveles, the aforementioned Ed Pastor, Ruben Gallego, or D, Raul Grijalva, who became Arizona's first Latino elected to Congress?
No, that's such a good question. All right. Question 3. Who was the first Latino president of the Arizona State Senate? Oh,
So the options for this are A, Alfredo Gutierrez, B, Pete Rios, C, Manuel Lito Peña, or D, Joe Eddie Lopez.
all right. So who do you think it was? All
was
right.
it?
Question 4. Leah Marquez Peterson became the first Latina to serve in the Arizona statewide office as a member of the Arizona Corporation Commission. What year was that?
And these are kind of stacked, so it'll give you a sense that it's recent history. But was it A, 2018, B, 2019, C, 2020, or this year, 2022?
Oh, so how recent was it? I mean, was it just this year? Well, I know at least one person knows the answer. And that's the beauty of having the multiple choice. Even if you don't know the answer, you can still guess and probably pretty come close to getting it right. All right. Question 5. Who was the first Latino to serve on the Phoenix City Council?
Your options for that are A, former Councilman Michael Nowakowski, B, former Councilwoman Mary Rose Wilcox, C, former council member Adam Perez Diaz, or D, current Phoenix City Council member Laura Pastor.
All right. Or question 6. St. Vincent de Paul is Phoenix is the largest St. Vincent de Paul in the U.S. Every day it feeds, clothes, houses, and heals community members. What year was it founded here in Phoenix?
And your options for that are A, 1946, B, 1963, C, 1971, or D, 1987. The largest St. Vincent de Paul in the entire country is here in Arizona, in Phoenix.
Wow. And I know there's more to that story because I think that's kind of incredible. We have the largest one in the entire country right here.
That's right.
All right. Question 7. What internationally respected theater company that performs for children and families in Arizona opened its doors back in 1977?
And the options for that, they're all great theater companies. The first one is Great Arizona Puppet Theater, B, Child's Play Theater, C, Valley Youth Theater, or D, Spotlight Youth Theater.
All right. So it is one of those. And question 8. Which former Arizona Attorney General Grant Woods and Marcelino co-wrote and performed a play called?
So this was a lot of fun. The late, great Grant Woods and I wrote a play. We'll talk about that more once we get to the answers. But the options for that are A, Hey Governor, B, Who Represents, C, Dear Senator, or D, Hello Republic.
All right. Question 9. Arizona State University has had many mascots since its founding back in 1885. What was their first mascot?
A, an owl, B, a bulldog, C, it's always been Sparky, or D, a bobcat.
All right. And our last question, what event happened in Arizona in 2012?
A, Arizona celebrates its centennial on February 14th. B, yours truly first elected to public office. C, cityscape constructed, or D, all of the above. 2012.
Indeed, that was a big year. Lots of things happened.
Yes, big
Now,
memorable year.
indeed. All right. So, while you are locking in your final answers, and Anita's writing them down in her notebook, in pen, I
Kudos to
mind you, so she
Anita.
can't go
Kudos
back
to
and
Anita.
change them. So, because this is all self-graded, we are going to take a little bit of an Arizona music break. And so, my friend Ben, a few nights ago, actually, several years ago, he did a play on the Wallace and Ladmo show. And
Mm.
so they re-aired through the internet a copy of that. And so I thought, the Wallace and Ladmo show was such an important piece, of Arizona, just Arizona. It ran from 54 to 1989. And so it was famous for Hubcap and the Wheels. Now, they were actually a parody rock band that formed kind of mimicking the Beatles. And they became so popular that they almost got a record deal. And they basically chose not to take that record deal because it would have ended the show, and they were having far too much on the show. Now, their first TV appearance was on the Steve Allen Show, another Phoenician who had made his way to Hollywood as well. And so there you go. Hubcap and the Wheels were a part of the Arizona music scene. All right. And so now is who's ready for some answers? So in 74, what former boxer, Mexican immigrant, county board supervisor became Arizona's first and at the moment only Latino governor?
And Marshall, the answer to that for our guest, Anita, I'm counting on you, even in the hospital. The answer to that is the late Raul H. Castro. As some of the question will tell you, Mr. Castro was actually born in Mexico, immigrated here to the United States, was a boxer, traveled boxing, and then eventually entered politics, where he was able to serve as a county board of supervisor, and then from there became governor in 1974. He served as governor from 1974 through 1977. And that was actually the last time that we have something similar to what's going to happen this year, which is where we had a Democrat governor, a Democrat Secretary of State, and a Democrat Attorney General. That is going to happen again this year. So history is kind of being forged and kind of being made. But Raul H. Castro was the first Latino governor of the state of Arizona.
All right. And so now I kind of messed up on this. I think this was who was our first Latino congressman?
Yes. Mr. Pastor passed away a couple of years ago in November. He left behind an incredible legacy of service here to our state and to our country. I actually live very close to a school that is named after him. It is named Ed and Verma Pastor School, Verma being his wife, who is still alive and doing a lot for the community. But in 1990, Mr. Ed Pastor, a former chemistry teacher and also county board of supervisor, became the first Latino elected to Congress here in Arizona. That has since then, of course, opened opportunities for other individuals who happen to be Latino to run and get elected to Congress here in Arizona. So Mr. Pastor leaves an incredible legacy. His children, Laura and Yvonne, do amazing things here in Arizona.
I didn't realize that he was a teacher before he went into politics.
Ain't that cool?
Yeah, that is really cool.
And out of everything, right? It's not history, it's not English, right. It's chemistry.
Right, it's exactly. Chemistry. Not what you would have expected. I mean, you would expect somebody with history background would go into politics, but chemistry. He must have just seen a huge community need and stepped up to the plate.
That's right. I've actually had the fortune of visiting his childhood home, which is in the Globe, Miami area. And please notice how I said it.
I was going to say, and you said it right.
Exactly. It's not it's Globe, Miami. but that's in Eastern Arizona. That's where he grew up with his childhood friend, Mr. Ronnie Lopez, who is also a very influential individual here in Arizona. He has also since passed, but Mr. Ronnie Lopez and the congressman made history in 1990 and again opened the doors for others.
Wow. All right. So who was the first Latino president of the Arizona State Senate?
Mr. Pete Rios. And Mr. Pete Rios is still doing a lot. He has a bicycle and still canvasses a lot. He was elected to serve as the first Latino president of the Senate in 1990. And what's really cool for folks that are tuning in, when you go to the Arizona Capitol on Washington and 17th Ave, and you go to the House, you can see a picture of every single Speaker of the House that's ever been there. It's really cool. And then you go to the Senate, and there are pictures of every single Senate president. And Mr. Pete Rios' picture hangs there. It's really cool. The name Rios might sound familiar because his daughter also entered politics. Her name is Rebecca Rios, and she has also had a very distinguished career in politics here in Arizona. She has served as both the minority leader in the House and the minority leader in the Senate. And this year she left the legislature and she became the Justice of the Peace in South Phoenix. So close to where you bought your house, close to where you bought your first house, Marshall. Miss Rebecca Rios is now going to be the Justice of the Peace. But her father made history in 1990 when he became the first Latino to serve as president of the Senate.
All right. Question 4. Leah Marquez Peterson became the first Latina to serve in the Arizona statewide office as a member of the Arizona Corporation Commission. What year did that happen?
So some folks might remember the answers or the options. It was 19, 18, 20, 22. It was really close, but as you can tell, that's really recent history. It happened 3 years ago when Ms. Marquez was appointed by Governor Ducey to serve on the Arizona Corporation Commission. She was elected the following year to now complete a full term, and she is currently the chairperson of the Arizona Corporation Commission. For individuals who might not know, the Arizona Corporation Commission helps to regulate our utility companies here in Arizona, and they also help to establish good business practices here in Arizona. Interesting to note, a year later after serving on the commission, she was joined by another Latina, and that is Ms. Anna Tovar. Ms. Anna Tovar has had a distinguished career as well, having been in the legislature. And then prior to the Corporation Commission, she was actually the mayor of Tolleson. So now there are 2 Latinas on the board on the Corporation Commission.
No, and from Tolleson as well. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it's
getting a little
right there on the east and the west
not
side.
diversity, but also representation from across the valley.
Yes, Ms. Marquez is from Tucson. She used to have the chamber down there, and then eventually.
Oh, okay. So really, so statewide. Mm-hmm. I know, because it's like if you open a business, you've got to go through the Corporation Commission and fill out paperwork and do all that stuff. So they kind of keep tabs on all kinds of things.
That's right.
All right. Who was the first Latino to serve on the Phoenix City Council?
That was Mr. Adam Perez Diaz. And what is really cool about this answer is that Mr. Perez Diaz did it in the 1950s. Here in Phoenix, Arizona, he was appointed to the Phoenix City Council and then the vice mayor. And that happened in the 1950s. So that's a really beautiful piece of history. Since then, there have been a number of Latinos serving in the Phoenix City Council, but I think it's always important to recognize those pioneers, those history makers, and Mr. Diaz is that. Marcia, if I could just go for a second back to one of the questions. You don't have to do anything on the screen, but I just want to share this because I would be remiss if I didn't. One of the options for the first individual, first Latino to serve in Congress was a man by the name of Bob Reveles. And I want to talk about him for just a second. He ran for Congress in Arizona in 1974 and did not make it. But I think it's important to note that he ran and really got the ball rolling. He is an incredible individual who is 90 years old now, a really good friend of mine, a mentor of mine. And when I mentioned having gone earlier to Globe, Miami, to see the congressman's childhood home, it was Mr. Bob Reveles, Mr. Roberto Reveles, who took me. So he's also a historian, and I just love learning. And so I was able to go on a Saturday for the whole day with them, and we toured all of Globe, Miami, and it was a.
I'm jealous. I wish I was there as well. That would
we'll have to coordinate something. We'll have to coordinate something.
That would be so much fun, because I mean, I've been there, but I don't really know. I don't know anyone there to kind of guide me around and talk about the history that's there. I mean, because I mean, you've got like Rose Mofford, who was from that area, former governor. So I mean, it's a very important area. I mean, and the mining industry that was there, and so it's a very important communities.
It is. It's absolutely important, and I'm so glad you mentioned the first female governor, Miss Rose Mofford, here in Arizona, and then Superior, which is the mining town. And it's the mining town there. And as most of us know, mining has been an important part of Arizona history and its ability to grow. So having an opportunity to get a tour and get lots of trivia from Mr. Roberto Reveles was a true delight. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned him, because I think he's important, and I think he's also an important part of Arizona history.
Indeed, and I would love to coordinate a field trip. That would be so much fun. No pressure, but
no pressure. No pressure.
All right, question 6. St. Vincent de Paul in Phoenix is the largest one in the country. What year was it founded?
So we gave the answer. But the largest St. Vincent de Paul in the entire country was founded in 1946 here in Arizona. So 76 years ago.
Wow.
Yes. Talk about those hidden gems and those treasures that we have within our community. So I'm in politics, and I have the incredible honor of serving in the Capitol and representing my district. And so it was important for me to shed some light on individuals who have forged the path for me. So I wanted to recognize those individuals that we've mentioned. But in addition to being in the legislature, I'm also a board member for St. Vincent de Paul. And I wanted to give St. Vincent de Paul a shout out because what they do in our community is incredible work. They feed, clothe, house, and heal the needy. Every day they provide over 4,500 warm meals. Day in, day out, they provide clothing, rental assistance programs, and they have an incredible dental clinic that also provides resources. Oh. Yeah, no, they're great. They're right off of Watkins and 3rd Ave. And they do a lot for our community. In addition to
right, that new campus that's down there. That's an amazing space.
It's an incredible space. I would invite every single viewer, Anita, to see if they can volunteer at St. Vincent de Paul. Or right now, we are a couple of days from the end of the year. It's also tax credit season. So if you want to get some tax credits, you can send a nice contribution to St. Vincent de Paul and then claim it on your taxes. It's all tax refundable. So I think it's important to recognize those organizations that are doing a lot for our community day in and day out. And St. Vincent de Paul, founded in 1946, definitely does that. So I wanted to give them some credit.
Wow, I didn't realize they were that old here. That's really amazing.
Marshall, and again, the largest one in the entire country.
I know that. I mean, and it's so funny because I mean, it's like I've got a friend who is a director of. There's a school for autism there. And so, I mean, the thing is, and it's such a cool campus because of how many community needs it fulfills.
Absolutely. So they do incredible work. St. Vincent de Paul is all over the world, And the fact that we've got the largest one in the country is a point of pride for all of us.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what internationally respected theater company that is right here performing for children and families opened its doors back in 1977?
That theater company is Child's Play Theater. It was founded by David Sarr in 1977 in Tempe, Arizona. And since then, they've continued to perform for children and their families. And they really do an incredible job of making the theater accessible to young audiences. A lot of times, theater is able to sort of impart lessons that you can't get any other way. Theater is able to open up one's ability to empathize and to think creatively and critically about issues. And so the fact that Child's Play does that for our community members is also beautiful. Also on their board. So it's, I guess
I didn't realize you're on their board as well. Cause I mean, it's like, it's like when I was in the libraries, we actually did some work with them and helping them get stories to actually take into schools.
Yeah.
So that it's like kids get that experience of seeing live theater.
Exactly.
And not just watching TV, but actually seeing it live. And again, and you're right. And those stories that can be so important and point out things in their lives that you couldn't just say, here this is, but being able to put in a play so they can see it through.
That's right. They do an amazing job. They perform all over Arizona. They have touring shows, and it's really cool. A long time ago, in 2008, I actually did a show with the Child's Play Theater. It was called A Little Bit of Water, and it was about the importance of water conservation here in Arizona, which continues to be an issue.
I was going to say we should bring that show back, and for adults as well, it sounds like.
Yes, it was written by their now artistic director, Dwayne Hartford, and it was directed by Anthony Ranfola, who is now in San Antonio for running a theater company down there. But Child's Play does a lot for our community. They just closed a wonderful run of the Reindeer Show at the Herberger Theater, and they've got a couple more shows. So I would encourage individuals to look into Child's Play Theater. If you've got young ones, take them to the theater so that they can open up their imaginations and see themselves on those characters on stage.
Exactly. And I love that they do stage performance as well as going into schools. So yes. I love they kind of hit the children everywhere they can with that experience of theater.
Okay.
All right. Question 8. Former Arizona Attorney General Grant Woods and Marcelino co-wrote and performed a play called
Dear Senator. My friend Grant passed away in October of 2021. He was 67 years old, and he leaves behind an amazing legacy of service and creativity and humanity in Arizona. He was elected to serve as the Attorney General here in 1990. And then 4 years later, when he ran again, he ran unopposed. So that tells you the kind of work that he did. And he won 80% of the vote the second go round. He was an incredible father and a husband and an amazing friend. And we connected in 2018, and we wrote a play together called Dear Senator. We wrote it and then performed it. And Marshall, it's a really beautiful play about two individuals from polar opposite sides of the political spectrum can come together to work on behalf of what it means to be an American in light of the previous administration. And so had an amazing time working with Grant. I miss him dearly, and it's important for us to know all that he did, and the fact that I can say that I have that moment with him is a special treasure for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really great. And again, and it's kind of like that work across the aisle. I mean, that former Governor Rose Mofford was famous for. Senator O'Connor was famous for that as well. I mean, we have a long legacy of that.
Yes. it's a beautiful legacy here in Arizona. It's one that needs to continue. One of my proudest moments this past year in the House was doing a death resolution for Grant, where I was able to have his wife and his children attend, but we honored him. And then I had a flag flown at half-mast through the Secretary of State's office. I then presented that flag to his wife, and it was just wonderful to spend time and honor Grant with his family.
No, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Arizona State University has had many mascots since founding back in 1885. What was their first mascot?
It was an owl. It was an owl. Arizona State University was founded in 1885, and as you can tell by the graphic that Marshall included, it wasn't always known as Arizona State University. It was actually known as Tempe Normal School. It was in a school for teachers here in Arizona when it was founded, and their first mascot was an owl. They've also been the Bulldogs, and most recently over the last 50 or 60 years, they are the Sun Devils. So go Sun Devils. I am a proud two-time graduate of Arizona State University, and then also a former staff member at Arizona State University. So I thought I'd give some energy to ASU.
Indeed. And it was funny looking back even at Sparky and seeing different variations of Sparky, which I hadn't seen before. Not just the one we know that looks like Walt Disney, but
yeah, Marshall, some of those versions of Sparky are scary, right?
Oh my gosh, there was one that looked more like Krampus. I was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
I'm like, that doesn't seem very happy-go-lucky or pleasant. And so yeah, I thought it was very funny. And then they went with Sparky, the Walt Disney knockoff.
Right.
So all right. And so what happened in Arizona in 2012?
So as you can tell, it was all of the above. It was all of the above. I will talk a little bit about all of them for just a second. Arizona celebrated its centennial on February 14th of 2012. So 100 years since statehood. And we keep going, right? We're 110 years old now. Yes. I ran for the first time and was elected to serve on the Roosevelt School District Governing Board. So I wanted to include that in there just to sort of demonstrate that. I talked earlier about being a member of the Arizona legislature and serving as minority whip, but I wanted to illustrate that it takes years on end to make to make things happen. And so my first public office was for the Roosevelt School District in 2012. And then the last one is Cityscape was constructed, and that is really a jewel in downtown Phoenix. So it promotes a lot of tourism, it promotes a lot of business, and it was really started prior to that, but it's taken a lot of work from Mayor Phil Gordon, Mayor Stanton at the time, and now to drive by it and see the skating ring during the holidays and see what's become of it is really beautiful.
I mean, and all the entertainment that's there, from the restaurants,
the bowling.
I mean, you've got Copper Blues there, which brings in top comics from across the country. So yeah, I mean, it's really a happening spot, and it's right off light rail, so it's easy to get to. And
perfect.
So if you're like me and too cheap to park, hop on light rail. So much easier.
Okay.
All right. Well, I always like to ask people how they did, and realizing, it's not so important in terms of how Mike and Anita did on the trivia, or other folks as well, but just look at the stories. I mean, the fact I didn't realize that we had the largest St. Vincent de Paul in the country right here, which I think is pretty amazing.
I agree.
So Marcelino, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a bit of yourself, some history, some education. Are you working on anything right now?
We start session on January 9th, so I'm getting ready for that. Governor-elect Hobbs, her inauguration will be on Thursday, January 5th. and then that following Monday, the 56th session, legislative session of Arizona will begin. So I'm really excited to get the work going there.
Wow, that's great. And the 56th session, that's kind of incredible.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's been years online, years in the making. You mentioned, ironically enough, that the first political activity started here in Arizona in 1863 today. So the fact that we are now going into our 56th session is exciting. There's a lot of work to be done. Our state has a lot of needs, and so I look forward to the collaboration and the support so that we can make things happen for all of Arizona.
Indeed. And so, do you have any plans for New Year's?
You know what? I'm very much a homebody, so I will be spending my New Year's Eve with family, having some yummy food, maybe doing a little bit of karaoke, but it'll be really personal and really enjoyable.
So are you a resolution person or not?
No, I'm not a resolutions person. I'm not a resolutions person only because I sort of think that you have to find those things that you need to do regularly to become a better version of yourself. And so I tend not to come up with 2 or 3, but I just sort of look at what I'm doing, what I need to do regularly, and then just sort of making those adjustments as we go.
Indeed, same thing. It's like, year round, I'm always about, okay, what can I do better? And not just, I'm going to wait till this one day and try to change everything I'm doing. So,
right. It doesn't work because, personally speaking, right. I could be wrong. I don't want people to get upset on your show, Marshall, but it's
as you're already like damning their diets.
All of a sudden, the chat is going on, right? Like, what are you talking about? But no, like you said, I'm gonna do it starting this day, right? And then like you're really high energy for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden you get a little distracted because that happens, and then before you know it, you're like, wait, what was that resolution? So, but if you've got resolutions, you're gonna do a great job. I have full faith in you, and I hope it works out.
And that we all just have a great 2022 and a great kickoff to 2023.
That's right.
So, thank you so much for coming on, and have a happy New Year's Eve, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Marshall. Happy New Year, everyone.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun, Marcelino. Thank you so much for coming on and doing that. And okay, so from the vault. Now, I know we talked about Sacred Heart last week, but I actually got to go to the noon service on Christmas Day to this 50s church. And it was so cool being able to get into the church. I mean, when I started working in South Phoenix, this was really one of the first stories I heard about, was how the Golden Gate Barrio had basically been kind of shut down by the airport, and the community in the mid-'80s really fought to save this church. And that just last year, they actually worked on an agreement to continue to use it with the church. That there's a lease agreement now with the city of Phoenix that even includes the FFA approval. So it is indeed finalized. It was really cool because they brought out the original bell that was in the church. Now it is dated, I think it's dated 1912. So I have a feeling there's more to the story about that bell. So now I'm kind of like intrigued to find out, well, where did the bell come from? I mean, Father Braun, who was instrumental in getting the church built, I'm kind of intrigued to see what the story behind that bell is. And then they had really cool, they had up on the fence before you walked in, the history of the school, of the community, of the various churches for the neighborhood. And so it was really kind of fun to see people pointing out themselves, pointing out their parents or grandparents, and then getting a chance to actually go inside the church And as I'm sitting there, I'm looking and I notice these light fixtures, which are not 1950s. So, just like that bell, there's more to this story. So I want to find out more about those lighting fixtures and see kind of what the story behind those is. I mean, I can hardly wait to find out. I have a feeling that they were able to pull together resources from a variety of communities to build this church and make it happen. And I love that it still is there as a testament to the community. And so many folks, you could tell, were introducing the younger generations. I mean, it was like dressed in front of us was a grandmother with her 5 grandkids, showing off and sharing the community with them. And so that was really a lot of fun. And so again, Andrew, thank you so much for inviting me. And again, I want to say thank you all for watching. Now you'll see why I say, you should click on share if you're on Facebook, because, we are having so much fun with Arizona history, talking about so many different stories. And, that's why it's always good to share that around. So next week, as you know, we kind of get ready for a little bit of Super Bowl magic coming up in February. We have Steve Schumacher. Now, Steve Schumacher is the newly appointed historian by Mayor Kate Gallego. So it's going to be a really fun show having him on, talking about some Phoenix history. And, maybe we'll get a little preview into maybe some Super Bowl magic that's going to happen. Who knows? But it will be a surprising episode and the first one of 2023. So that will be Thursday. Next Thursday at 7 o'clock. So you'll definitely want to be sure and check that one out as well. Now you can also check it out on YouTube, where it's archived, and I'm slowly starting to get things up on Spotify and hopefully soon even iTunes, so that way you can hear them as podcast. So looking forward to that. And so as we say, New Year wishes for you all as we get ready to give a shout out to Chris and Cole for that great little intro video, and PJ for another tasty beverage. And so, as we say goodbye, I always like to end with a video. And so tonight, if any of you watched I even forget what channel. I think this was, I don't want to say what channel. I think it was channel 3. If you remember driving along the 51, there was a huge kind of issue with some funds being spent on pots. And so Channel 3 reached out to me and said, hey, come, let's talk a little bit about the pots and kind of what they were and what they are today. So that is how we are going to end this week's show.
Been there among longer than, gosh, a lot of us can remember. A public art project leading to widespread ridicule almost 3 decades ago.
So today, ABC 15's Kaleo Kelly shows off an Arizona hidden gem you may have seen but never really noticed while driving on the 51 freeway.
It really says, hey, get off and enjoy what's around you.
It's bright blue and massive. It's made of concrete, and it is loaded with Arizona history.
And I kept wondering, what is that?
Built into the barrier wall of State Route 51 near the exit at Highland.
And only part of it, the handle, is sticking through the wall.
This Arizona hidden gem. It's not the only one you'll find here, as long as you are up for a unique adventure. The teapot handle is just part of a 5-mile Phoenix public art installation built in 1994 near the noise barrier walls.
As you drive along the 51 on street side, you can still find these large pots, kettles, things like that to really enjoy the neighborhood with.
An adventure of sorts along the path between Glendale Avenue South to McDowell Road.
They were doing this Beautify the Highway project.
Marshall Shore says this was about inspiring exploration of the neighborhoods cut in half decades ago when State Route 51 was built.
And people were outraged because as you drive, all they saw were these little tiny pots that cost a lot of money.
Officially called Wall Cycle to Ocotillo, the price tag $474,000, and created by two Massachusetts artists, which is partly why the project was mocked back then by so many people.
You would never even know that it is the 51 above us.
Shore also says the best way to see this is on a bike, and pedestrian tunnels under the 51 do make it safer to see the roughly 20 that still remain.
It's an easy way to get from one side of the highway to another without having to put your life in danger.
We found the largest on 18th Street, the Teapot Gazebo at Tucky Lane, the Hummingbird Vessel and Garden on Fairmount Avenue, and the Moroccan Gazebo Vessel at Mitchell Drive. They're all fairly easy to find as long as you know where to look, and well worth the time spent to get here.
It really helps provide a reason for why you don't want to just zip around the highways, why sometimes you want to take the side road.
Kaylee O'Kelly, ABC 15, Arizona.
It's something I would have never thought of, and I've grown up in the Valley, born and raised here. I had no idea. Kaylee O'Kelly always just introduces us to something else to keep an eye out for on the road.
And I had no idea about the pedestrian walkways either. That's so
very
cool.
nice.
Yeah, great stuff, and it's supporting the arts at the same time. Hey, you can find these Arizona hidden gems thanks to our interactive map. You can find it along with even more details about the pots on abc15.com.